can probably tell as you come out into this space that our purpose here is to simply join together authentically for this practice. So let's take this practice and let's just press it out into the ethers. And let's know that this moment together is more than enough. So, from my home to your home, from my heart to your heart, let's engage in a conversation today. Feel free to post, feel free to connect with each other at this time as well. You can tell that there's no professional camera crew here, and we're just connecting heart to heart. So, I want to share that the lesson today is called Building Immunity. And it's about building our inner temple, our mind experience, building that spiritual mind. And it's times like these and in general, right, that's part of our practice. We do a lot to educate our thinking mind. We do a lot to educate ourselves so that we can serve the world, so that we can have a profession and have a job. But how often do we invest in really deepening our practice so that we can build immunity to the things that we would like to be immune to on some level, so that we might go about what is ours to do, those things that stand in the way. So just think for a moment of things that you would do if you had no concerns, if you didn't worry at all what people thought, if you didn't worry what you thought, if you just felt so strong in each moment that you knew you could trust your guidance and you could move forward with your life, with your words. You know, the daily word said today, I take dominion over my thoughts, words, and actions. So your words, your thoughts, your actions, all of that. We know a couple of obvious keys. So I'm going to talk about 3 keys today to building spiritual immunity and building your inner immunity. The first is kind of the most obvious. It's meditation and prayer. And this is kind of the given that people go to. It's like my meditation practice, my prayer practice is essential to any time, not just the times that I'm feeling like it's challenging in my life or in this world, but all of the time. So that one's one that most people get and most people know. The second one is principle. It's showing up with principle, sourcing what you love. It's being conscious that we are an inlet and an outlet of God. And so an inlet and an outlet of love, an inlet and an outlet of light. It's about being in principle, understanding principle, applying principle, living by principle. So not living by what can be unstable, what can be changeable all the time, what can be changing, but living by those principles. So at this time, I think of that as being that we keep the practice alive. We keep our circulation alive in the ways that it feeds us, that we know we're really conscious about what we're creating in this moment. On a thought level, it's being really conscious about what we are adding to, you know, what we are supporting, what we are creating more of, because where we give, we create more of. So if we give fear, we create more fear. And that doesn't mean we don't honor our fear. We can honor our fear, but right now, you know, it's just about presencing it, right? It's about presencing it and not criticizing it, not over-focusing on it, but giving way more to the spirit within us that is our strength, getting support for that. And that's part of the practice and part of the principle, is that what we focus on expands in our experience. But the third one is something that is not always as obvious to some of us. And to all of us, I think we don't always pause when the opportunity is ripe for this third key today. We often, when the opportunity is ripe, we let the fruit just fall to the ground. And my little G has learned to say, wait, wait. And so I'm going to say to you right now, wait, wait for number 3. We're going to get to that. But the master teacher clearly built up a reservoir of spiritual strength. There is no way that the master teacher could have gone about the lessons and the teachings of the time without having a massive reservoir of spiritual strength. Surely built up by meditation and prayer, surely built up by intuiting principle and living by spiritual laws and spiritual principles instead of the way the world was inviting him to live. There had to be mounting criticism, right, of the time. And if the master teacher did not have spiritual immunity, there's no way we would even have these lessons of love, these lessons of nonviolence, these lessons of peace, these lessons of non-judgment, these lessons of radical compassion, these lessons of healing in the way we have them. We wouldn't have them if when he heard criticism, feedback, all of these things that we get in the human condition, if when he got them, he decided to walk away or to be quiet or to shut down, then we wouldn't have that. So there is a practice, right, of building up immunity, building up spiritual immunity and spiritual strength. So I want to share with you something that's kind of funny. I don't watch my talks. I don't watch these back. Some of you know that. Some of you don't know that. Now, as far as getting better at what you do, it would be a really smart thing to watch them back, right? It would be a wise thing to take a look at the things you're doing and say, what could I do differently? How could I be better at what I do? But what I know about myself at this point in time, and I'm not holding attachment to that for the future, is that if I were to sit here and watch these back, it's likely, very likely, I would never do it again. I'm not kidding you. I would probably feel embarrassment, some humiliation, some just foolishness that who am I and what am I doing and is this even helpful? And look, I have to adjust the camera right when I'm talking and come right to your face. You know, I would just see it and cringe, and even if I hear it playing because it's being edited or something like that, I kind of walk away. That's not because I don't watch it because I don't want to improve. I don't steer clear of it because of that. I steer clear of it because I recognize that I have a vulnerability that if I feed into it, if I give it attention, that I will not be about what I'm here to be about. That I will not do what I feel in my heart I'm led to do. That I will not share what I feel like I'm led to share. That I will not be able to serve in a way that I feel called to serve. And so that awareness and knowing personal stories from people about how our community and how this unity movement and how these conversations support their lives is what keeps me going. So I make a conscious choice not to feed into my some people would call it ego self, right? Your ego self, or the self that has reflections. I make a conscious choice not to feed into that and not to worry about if my gestures aren't quite perfect or this or that. Not to worry about that right now, because right now I want to focus on what's important. Once I build up the spiritual immunity, right, then I can get to that. But what is it in your life? What is it in the collective that we don't even go to because we know that we're vulnerable? So I invite you to take a deep breath into that question. What is it that you might not try, or you don't want to look at, or you hold back? because you feel like you don't have the immunity, the spiritual immune system, the building up of immunity to be present to your vulnerability. Maybe for some of you, for some of us, it's in conversations that we have things that come to our mind to share. We have thoughts and we have feelings about things, but we hold back from sharing them. Maybe it's a gift that we're to share. But breathe into that and breathe into the opportunity to see the practice there, to just engage the practice, to notice when it comes up and to not just pass by it, right? To not let that fruit drop on the floor, but to take it as a practice of building immunity. How can I use even this to build my spiritual practice? I want to share something that came to me this week, and I share this not in any way to judge or to have or hold anything against. I share this because it is a perfect sharing to show what it can be like doing our spiritual work. So I got a post on a group page with my colleagues about our Sunday service. And the beginning of the post went into the connections, the internet connections, and how it was fuzzy, and how you couldn't see it or it was chopping up. And there was feedback saying, you know, the internet, there's a lot of people on it, and it could be your home connection, all this stuff. But the rest of the post went on to talk about being surprised by the picture, the artwork that was next to me, and in the shot. I have a piece of artwork that reminds me of cathedrals. It reminds me of a Greek goddess of Rome, of Italy. It reminds me of angels, and it was in the shot. It was in the frame, and it was in the frame even more than I thought it was. I thought it was just like, you know, kind of part of it, but it was in there. And the feedback came saying it was very poor judgment of where to hold the video. So having the video there in front of that was very poor judgment. And then it went on to say if this is the best that Unity or UVC that we can do, we have deep problems. And so I saw that. And for any of you out there that were live streaming with us this Sunday, and now that video is probably going to go viral because everyone's going to want to see what are they talking about. But for any of you that saw it and were offended, my heart goes out to you with love and compassion and peace. And I want to just tell you a little bit about my process, because I think it's good. I think it's important to share this. And again, I don't share this to build, to need support or to build a story around anything. I share this because this is about our opportunity. It's about the opportunity to catch the fruit and to eat it and to be nourished, or to let it fall on the floor, the ground, the earth, and rot. So this is how it went for me. And I was called out in it, like tagged, like my name was there for everyone to see that it was me. So my first reaction, I'm just being completely authentic here, for all of our own, digestion, you know, of our own lives. So I just invite you, as I share the story, just to take it in to see what your process is and to look at your process. But my first reaction was kind of, oh, give me a break. Like champagne problems in the midst of everything that's going on, like that, you know, it was kind of to like discount or just to go, oh, come on, please. Like that's the least of my worries. Like my whole intention was to, as fast as I could, get out here to you, and whatever that meant. If that means coming to you in my pajamas, by the way, give a thumbs up if you're in your pajamas right now. Just hit that thumbs up button. If you're wearing your pajamas right now, give it a thumbs up. But my intention was not to worry or stress about going sleek or being crazy professional or making it perfect. But my intention was to get to my people, to get us all together as fast as we could so that we could support each other. It was to start the phone calls, start the emails, start the online presence so that we could jump into supporting each other. And it is my style. Like it's my style. And I did tell you, VC, when I came here, when I took the position, I said, one thing about me is that I said, disheveled is not the right word, but sleek and professional and, rehearsed movements is not my thing. My thing is authenticity and showing up with people. Are you ready for that ride? So luckily with my spiritual community, they have been ready for that ride. But that was my first reaction, right? Now think about if whenever something happens, if we just stop there, to discount, to minimize, to release. We don't get the good. We don't get the good that is right there, ready, inviting us, waiting, asking for us to see it. So my next response was laughter. My next response was just like, this is hilarious. Oh my gosh, like kind of just laughing with the universe, like just taking it in, going, oh, how funny, and looking at it and going, ah, funny. And the third reaction I had was, the bless your heart. Bless your heart and your sweet soul. Bless the individual. Bless the process. Bless anyone else that thought about that. That was my third reaction was just like a blessing, like, okay, we're all different. We're so diverse, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So it was a blessing. And then my fourth reaction, number 4 on the list of reactions, was that later on I started questioning myself. And really started to feel inadequate. That feeling of inadequacy started to move towards a little bit of embarrassment or humiliation. So it got into this space, and this wasn't a long time, but it got into this space of going like, oh, maybe I'm, not good at what I do. Maybe I really need to think with a different brain, like just those feelings. And it was less thought, but more really just like this feeling of, when you just feel like, let me sit with that. One of my gifts is sitting with something. On the Enneagram, my Enneagram number is the one that can self-saturate in emotions and feelings, like just overly feeling something, right? So that was an experience. After that experience, the fifth stage was that I went into my intellectual brain. So I started getting online, I started watching videos, I got into my minister's discussion group and found out what other people are doing, where they're live streaming from, what programs they're using, how much these programs cost. I started really diving in. I started thinking about my home and what other artwork could be behind me or where I could be doing this. I started getting real intellectual about how to make this smooth and how to make this professional. We looked up buying special equipment so that, the mic is perfect and the lighting is perfect and all of this stuff. But I took action and I started thinking not from source. Do you get that? Do you feel that? Can you hear that? All of that action was action from ego, from mind, from inadequacy, right? So I did that. That was my fifth step. The next step was irritability, a lowered spiritual immune system, and I started seeing symptoms of it. I woken up every morning feeling pretty good, like really positive, good, together, not positive in the way that, calling things good, but positive in the way of we are doing what we can as a community, as a global community, and like I've been taking it to heart and feeling that strength and that connection. But I woke up and recognized I was irritable. I woke up and recognized that I was a little shorter tempered. I was a little moody. I was a little depressed. I was a little sad. And here's the thing. without following these steps, without watching the mind, I would have had no idea what was going on within my being, right? These steps. So I would have taken it as an isolated experience, that this is just me and how I'm feeling today. But because of number 3, because of key 3, I have a practice and I've learned to follow these things so that I can learn more about myself, right? Okay, so the next, after that, once I noticed, I was like, ooh, look at me. Ooh, I'm not following the daily word today. I noticed that. Then I went into surrender and compassion. Just full surrender. Let me just put like a blanket of love over myself. Let me put a blanket of love over you. Let me put a blanket of love over all of this. Let me put a blanket of love over everyone. I started being able to see and feel how much is going on right now that needs our love. I started just noticing and thinking about all of the people that are with really loving intentions, posting something or sharing something or saying something, and other people are coming back and criticizing them or chewing them up or whatever it is, whatever you've experienced out on the street or in the world or on the internet, whatever it is, just in your own family, in your own home, in your own being. And I started to just have compassion for that and just go, oh, yeah. So let's just breathe into surrender and compassion and just add love to this. Just fill it with love. And I walked through where I had been. I walked through that journey to see, okay, this is where I am now. And then from that place of surrender and compassion, I was able to move on to number 8, grounding and centering. Grounding and centering. And in the grounding and centering, it was like you just present, right? Champagne problems are champagne problems, and you look at everything that's going on and you just find yourself grounded in the moment, right? From the grounding and centering, moving on to number 9, which is going directly to source and taking action directly from source. And that's a key part, because a lot of us think when we're in number 5, take action, a lot of us experience that and we think, okay, I'm doing my best, I'm doing what I can do for myself and for my life, my experience, my world, whoever I'm with. But number 5 isn't where it's at. It's after grounding and centering. It's after surrender and compassion that we are able often to go directly from source and to say, let all of my actions come from this practice. Let all of my actions be rooted in this moment, directly from source. And from that place, I arrived at number 10. And 10 is peace and deeper awareness. To find ourselves grounded in peace, to find ourselves having a deeper awareness. I ended up in gratitude for being able to see my mind and see my vulnerabilities. And I share this example not because it's a huge, life-changing example. It was actually as just a small experience, but a small experience that had I paid attention to nothing, I wouldn't have been able to see my own vulnerabilities and where I still have spiritual work to do, right? And I may have done something else. I may have lashed out. I may have stayed in depression. I may have, a moment of depression. I may have stayed in that experience. I may have shared that and passed that on to someone else, right? But when we engage the practice, when we engage in number 3, we get to peace and deeper awareness. And I was in gratitude. And part of the gratitude was that I didn't hear anything from my spiritual community on ground here. Everyone was really supportive and really happy, and I was like, yeah, I love you guys. That's awesome. And I feel like people get me and get my intentions, and that is a beautiful feeling. Number 3 is introspection. It's a mindfulness practice. It's engaging the work. It's doing the practice. Now, we may all have little examples like this one, something small that if you weren't engaging the practice, you wouldn't even think of. It would be 2 seconds on your radar, 2 seconds. I saw that, I thought that, whatever, on to the next thing. But if we instead pause, if we instead take a look at what we're experiencing, at our emotions, and we start to watch them and follow them, then we build up a spiritual strength. We build up a spiritual immunity. We see our vulnerabilities and we know where our work is to build our strength. Not strength that comes from the outer world, but we know where our prayer work is. We know how to go back to key number 1, the prayer and meditation, and how to take that into account. We know how to do key number 2, which is apply the principles. When we have key number 3, introspection, we're able to get gifts. We're able to get the fruit of each moment. And so there are opportunities right now. Are there not, friends? There are opportunities right now. There's a lot of fruit. It's the beginning of spring. It's going to be growing all over the place. Are we going to let it drop to the ground and rot? Or are we going to grab it? I say we grab it. I was also in this same week asked to join a webinar by Unity Worldwide Ministries, by one of my minister friends who reached out and said, I would like you, I can see what you're doing online. I would like you to be in a webinar for all of our ministers to help and support them getting out there to their people. And I was honored and I said yes. And so there were gratitudes that came with it. That one also balanced the humiliation and the pride and going, is it this, is it that? Funny. Our minds are funny, aren't they? Our minds are funny. Can we take this time for being a healing time? We have an opportunity right now to be on a collective sabbatical, a community sabbatical. It's a time of prayer, holding each other in deep prayer, holding our world in deep prayer, holding every person affected by what's going on right now in deep prayer. It's a time to go deep with ourselves, to have quiet time, to have walks in the woods with the trees, to stand with the grass, to feel ourselves connected with nature and the earth, to feel the silence of our home, to feel what we are and notice what comes up when we don't get to engage in the normal things that we usually do. We get to sit with that rather than let it just pass us by. We get to sit with the opportunity to see, who am I without all of my activities? And to just really breathe into these steps, breathe into compassion. Just look at that. And this is a time of healing. It's a healing time. So I'd like to invite us into prayer together in this moment. So would you take a deep breath in with me? Sweet Spirit, give us eyes to see and ears to hear. Not what divides us, but the good that unifies us, the sweetness and the grace of life that is all around us and available in each moment. Let us see it everywhere. Let us see the presence of light and the presence of love everywhere. With everything, may we take it humbly to source, to the source of our being, to the source of light, directly, fully, and completely, so that we may be of service to our world, we may be of service to each other, we may be of service to the highest good. Let us transform anything awaiting transformation and activate any idle good that is available to us in this moment. And we extend this prayer in this moment to all of the healthcare workers, all of the caregivers, to our elderly, diagnosis or be symptomatic, to everyone and anyone who is not. To our nation and our world. For all of you, for all of us, we pray. May all beings have freedom from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all beings know God as love and themselves as emanations of this love. May all beings know they are born blessed and here to be a blessing. And so it is.